It is very unfortunate that a lot of people still in this world think that to have access to anything which is beyond physical and mental body is exclusive to some chosen people, which most of them lived in the past. Or they think of themselves as someone who is very sinful and impure to be gifted with these special abilities that they have read in religious and sacred books about their ideals. At last, some of them are entrapped in the idea that to have a metaphysical experience or spiritual enlightenment, one should go through many hardships and should be isolated for years in a cave to bear excruciating body and mental practices. Then there could be a little chance to have some glimpses of the larger world or the invisible world which is known as fourth dimension. Against all these false beliefs, I just want to put one argument. If this ability was not available to every human being equally, no matter what their caste, creed, color, or religion are, then all the books and teachings would be meaningless. The very fact that ancient teachers tried to keep their teachings or their philosophy alive through different systems, because that this is a possibility within every human being, to know their real self, real power, and have access to these dimensions of life, where everyone can mold the future and create the life they want here and beyond this life. The fourth dimension, or as called by East mystics the invisible world, is a concept where almost every mystic touched and tried to find easy ways for the larger masses of their times and urged them to get access to this dimension as soon as possible. A world where you are beyond your physical body and mind but fully conscious, and your attention is in your full control. This is a dimension where you will find out what you really are and what is this life about. In this place you will experience the answer to all the eternal questions like, who am I? Where I come from? And where I will go? Maybe in the past you have read and heard the answer to these questions, and most of them were true and real answers, but they never solved the complexities of your life as they should do. And your inner world didn't change much. Your peace of mind and happiness was once again not in your own hands. The reason, because the answer to these questions is not a written answer to read or hear from someone else. You should experience yourself and see it, then it is fulfilled. It is in this fourth dimension that you will encounter the characters which play a most important role in human life, known as angel and evil. The most horrible monster and the most beautiful creature that you have ever seen. And you may encounter many more places and beings, as it is said that no eye has ever seen and no ear has ever heard. Many people have seen events before they have occurred in this world of three dimensions. If they have seen it before it was occurred, it means that the incident already happened in much larger world, in another dimension of life, and was a living reality for them. If the occurring events were not in this world when they were observed, then, to be perfectly logical, they must have been out of this world. And whatever is there, before it occurs here, must be predetermined from the point of view of man awake in a three-dimensional world. So, the question arises, are we able to alter our future? The objective of this video is to indicate possibilities inherent in man, to show that man can alter his future. The most remarkable feature of man's future is its flexibility. It is determined by his attitudes rather than by his acts. The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. He acts as he thinks he is. If he had a different concept of self, then he would act differently. A change of concept of self automatically alters his future. Man's assumptions which he regards as insignificant produce effects that are considerable. Therefore, Man should revise his estimate of an assumption and recognize its creative power. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. There are two actual outlooks on the world possessed by everyone, a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers called one the carnal mind, the other the mind of God. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness governed by our senses, and a controlled imagination governed by desire. The natural view confines reality to the moment called now. To the natural view, the past and future are purely imaginary. The spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the contents of time. It sees events as distinct and separated as objects in space. The past and future are a present whole to the spiritual view. What is mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. The habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state. Mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality. Concentrated thought focused in a particular direction shuts out other sensations and causes them to disappear. We have but to concentrate on the state desired in order to see it. The habit of withdrawing attention from the region of sensation and concentrating it on the invisible develops our spiritual outlook and enables us to penetrate beyond the world of sense and to see that which is invisible. This vision is completely independent of the natural faculties. Open it and quicken it. Without it, these instructions are useless, for the things of the spirit are spiritually discerned. A little practice will convince us that we can, by controlling our imagination, reshape our future in harmony with our desire. Desire is the mainspring of action. We could not move a single finger unless we had a desire to move it. No matter what we do, we follow the desire which at the moment dominates our minds. When we break a habit, our desire to break it is greater than our desire to continue in the habit. A desire is but an awareness of something we lack or need to make our life more enjoyable. Desires always have some personal gain in view. The greater the anticipated gain, the more intense is the desire. There is no absolutely unselfish desire. Where there is nothing to gain, there is no desire, and consequently no action. The spiritual man speaks to the natural man through the language of desire. The key to progress in life and to the fulfillment of dreams lies in ready obedience to its voice. Unhesitating obedience to its voice is an immediate assumption of the wish fulfilled. The undisciplined mind finds it difficult to assume a state which is denied by the senses. Here is a technique that makes it easy to encounter events before they occur, as it is said, to call things which are not seen as though they were. People have a habit of slighting the importance of simple things, but this simple formula for changing the future was discovered after years of searching and experimenting. Remember this one point, that the future event is a reality now in a dimensionally larger world, and oddly enough, now in a dimensionally larger world is equivalent to here in the ordinary three-dimensional space of everyday life. If, when the physical body is immobilized, we become possessed of the idea to do something and imagine that we are doing it here and now, and keep the imaginary action feelingly going right up until sleep ensues. We are likely to awaken out of the physical body to find ourselves in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus, and actually doing what we desired and imagined we were doing in the flesh. But whether we awaken there or not, we are actually performing the action in the fourth dimensional world, and we will reenact it in the future, here in the third dimensional world. Man can prove the existence of a dimensionally larger world simply by focusing his attention on an invisible state and imagining that he sees and feels it. If he remains concentrated in this state, his present environment will pass away, and he will awaken in a dimensionally larger world where the object of his contemplation will be seen as a concrete objective reality. Scientists will one day explain why there is a serial universe. But in practice, how we use this serial universe to change the future is more important. To change the future, we need only concern ourselves with two worlds in the infinite series: the world we know by reason of our bodily organs, and the world we perceive independently of our bodily organs. It is our wish and our blessing that things you never thought possible will happen to you. To support us, please subscribe the channel, Rumi Sufi Mystic, and press the like button.